everybody, I'm Captain Tommy Scoville, and you are on the lifeboat, riding on the lifeboat, riding on the. So we're closing in pretty rapidly on about 700 new crew members, which is pretty damn cool. And that means a bunch of new people reaching out and introducing themselves, telling us what their substance of choice is. It also means people deep diving and catching other shows, from the past, which is very cool. It also means a decent number of people who have missed out on certain things. I fired back an email to somebody. They were reaching out to say that they enjoyed the show and that they love how kind the crew was. Right? Everybody talks about that, but they were talking about how kind the crew was, and they said, and for that reason, I recommended this to my next door neighbor. Now she's watching it, and I said, well, that creates a ripple, doesn't it? Immediately. So I got back an email that said, what do you mean a ripple? So I started thinking to myself that, there are certain things that are just sort of the backbone of the lifeboat all the way together. Like, honestly, the concept of creating a ripple with sobriety is something that, that's it. It really is what we do. So, and it was perfect timing because I've been saving messages forever, right? I save messages literally forever, going back to the dawn of the boat when we first started. When things started grating on me, or I'm having a really bad time, I go back and I read messages that people left, emails that people left, comments. I've screenshotted them and I've moved them all to one file. And it's what you do when you feel like quitting. Like when you're having one of those days where it just feels like, I don't know why I do this, right? Why am I getting up at 4:30? Well, you can go and read those. I had to add a bunch of emails to that little folder today. Things that people had written. And, I don't put anybody on blast. I never read something and say, hey, this is something I got from Miss V, right? I would never do that to V. I wouldn't do that to anybody. If you send me something, there is a chance I might read it. I sure as hell am never going to tell anybody where it came from. And if it's super, super personal or super, anything like that. But these are people complimenting the boat and complimenting you guys. And some of them as soon as I read them, I thought, these really should have been read onto the boat a long time ago. One is very recent, and the others were actually in that folder, and I read them today while uploading some of the other ones, and I thought, man, this is so funny. One really in particular that is just absolutely great, and I'll read it to you. But the concept is this. So if you're new to the boat, here's the concept. I am of the firm belief, and always have been, that one sober person, just one, changes the world permanently. Absolutely permanently. And the example that I like to use, because it is the easiest example to use, is you take a father who's doing dope, stealing things, right? Going in and out of jail, not there in the life of the people that love him, not around to provide for him, not around to teach him, and is doing basically nothing. Now, if that individual gets sober, it's not just affecting his life. Now what happens is he begins to communicate with his children, and it becomes a life lesson for the kids. You know why I was gone, right? And they say, you were gone because you broke the law. I was gone because I did drugs. Everything that I did in life, I did because of drugs. It is the most dangerous stuff in the whole world. And I want you to be able to talk to me about it. Now, you got 2 or 3 kids whose lives are changed permanently. His daughter is going to marry somebody different than she would have if dad continued to get high and continued to go in and out of jail. The fact that he's going to be there is going to change the destiny of everybody in the family. Who they date, who they marry, what jobs they get, whether or not they go to school. One sober person can not only change the world, they can also break the chain. I can't tell you how many times we have seen situations where, someone is in an abusive relationship. And the reason that they're abusing the person that they're with or their kids, more often than not, is because it's a learned behavior, because they were abused. So what needs to happen is Somewhere along the way, that chain has to be broken. And very often, when that individual gets sober and they really start taking a look at what they're doing, and what their addiction has caused, it's more than just getting sober. It's keeping the next generation from seeing that and thinking it's okay, thinking it's normal. So it's not that I can't overstate this. Truthfully, there's no way to make this any bigger, than it is, because it's absolutely huge. And I mean, so if you're brand new here, Q is the person that helped me get sober. And if Q didn't help me get sober, well, I don't know what you guys would be doing tonight, but you sure as hell wouldn't be here, right? And that's one person, not me. And it was funny, the last time we did a show on this and I was talking about it, somebody said, well, somebody had to get Q sober, right? And I started emailing him back and forth about that. But you understand how this works. Those ripples go out forever. They literally never stop. And it's one of those situations that you got to be that ripple. I have one hair from my mustache that is growing right. It's driving me crazy. But you need to be that ripple. You need to be that rock that drops in the middle. And just like in the thumbnail, all of those ripples come out. There are going to be people whose lives are affected, and you're not going to know who they are. You're not going to have any idea who they are or how you affected them. But trust me when I tell you, you absolutely will be you will be affected. This first one that I'm going to read to you. Okay, this is an email that the lifeboat got. This is the one that made me say I'm going to do a show tonight where I read some of the things that people have sent in, because this is just classic, man. This is really classic. Where do you read what this cat wrote? Hey, Snotface. Good to see you. I just like saying Snotface. I think that's awesome. All right. Are you ready? Tommy, I love this boat. When I started watching the boat, I thought you were a con man. I found your channel through the channel of someone who hates you. So I started watching, looking for the fake, looking for the phony or the junkie. I never found them. I'm not sure I'm ever going to love you the way the rest of the crew does. To be really honest, you kind of annoy me. I'm sorry. But when I found this channel, I was drinking every day and I was smoking Chris a lot too. It's a methamphetamine reference. Yeah, I was smoking Chris a lot too. I am sober 31 days today. My wife is almost 2 months sober, and it's because of this channel, your channel, my channel, everybody's channel. Thanks for doing the boat. You're helping more people than you will ever know. That's cool as hell, right? I mean, that is cool as hell. There are ripples going out from the boat, and the fact that the guy's getting a lot out of this and doesn't like me, I think, is absolutely hysterical. It definitely proves that the lifeboat is far more about the people on the deck of the boat than it is the captain. And it's a beautiful thing that, you can show up here under the worst of conditions. You can show up here looking for me to be a jerk and finding out that the boat's legit, right? Doesn't mean you're going to like me, but you're going to find out that the boat is legit. And it's really, I don't know, I get a kick out of it, but these things are huge. They really are. They're huge. So this is one that, this one just absolutely touched me. This could be hard to get through. I actually practiced reading this one a couple of times because I didn't want to lose it. And I do have the potential, as you've all seen before. Full of hope. Good to see you. Glad that you're here. Welcome. All right, so this says, Tommy, my daughter is a drug addict. I want you to know that every time you talk about the normals, and I think she means normies, but every time you talk about the normals, saying, I am proud of you, but please don't tell anybody. You familiar with what I'm talking about? When I say even when the people that love you are proud of you, it's usually a, hey, you know what? I'm really proud of you. Don't mention to your uncle though that you're, So I do that one a lot. So I am proud of you, but please don't tell anybody. Every time you say that, it hurts me. You own your past with the bank robberies and the felonies and all of that. So I guess I'll have to say that I own this. because that's me. I was ashamed of my daughter. And when she needed me the most to be proud, I was ashamed. I didn't know better. Never again. We had a barbecue on Memorial Day, and that day she was 5 months clean. So I announced it at dinner. I said how proud I am of her and how great that she's doing in her sobriety. I don't know who was more shocked, my daughter or my dinner guests. But I want to thank you for educating this stupid old woman. I love you and I love the boat. That's heavy. That's wicked heavy. Those are those letters that, it's not always, the ripple isn't even always about somebody getting sober. We get a lot of people that watch the lifeboat who aren't getting high. And they may come here because they have a relative that's getting high. Patrick Taylor, I just approved you over on the Facebook page. I just saw that name, just approved you. But those kind of ripples are the best, right? Absolutely the best. This person doesn't have a drug problem, but they came here because they have a family member who does. And in the process of coming here, they came to realize that it hurts really bad when the people who love you don't support you, or if they look like if they can support you and still be ashamed of you at the same time. But what I wouldn't have given to, I picture it in my head, of this woman standing up and sort of, hey, quiet down. I wanted to make an announcement. Today, my daughter is 5 months sober. I think that is absolutely one of the coolest things that I've ever read. Really. And it's such a great example of the ripple phenomena, right? How the ripples from one sober individual, can change the entire world. You say, Tommy, that girl's not sober. No, that woman is not sober. But the ripple that touched her came from somebody that was, right? Me using that illustration every time I do, the ripple just keeps going out. Right? It keeps going out. For me, that ripple started with Q, and it will go out from there. But it is amazing to me the number of people who don't just watch the boat, the number of people who actually go out and start, I don't know what the right term is, sharing the boat, right? Telling people about the boat, doing everything they can to make sure that if there's somebody there that's getting high, or they have a kid that's getting high, or they're struggling with drugs or alcohol or anything, there are a lot of people that take the word to the street, so to speak. And it's just another example of the ripples going farther and farther and farther. Very, very cool. Sorry. All right. So this last one, slightly different, a slightly different flavor on this one as well. But this one reads, Tommy, I made my sister-in-law watch your video about raising a drug-free child. When the video was over, she looked at me and she said, oh my God, she's on drugs. And then she sat silent for about 2 minutes and then said, what the hell do I do? So I recommended a couple of other videos that you have in that same playlist. She immediately yanked her daughter out of school and she put her into a rehabilitation program. Turns out her daughter was doing meth and a lot of it. The boat did that. I mean, of course, I helped a lot, but the boat did that. And this is a huge ripple, Tommy. Stay tuned. I'm going to make more. It is amazing what one person can do to change the lives of people forever, right? That kid's never going to be the same. That kid's life just changed, and hopefully for the better, right? Let's hope this rehab actually takes. And if it does, that's one kid that isn't going to end up like me, right? That's one child who's not going to end up having to go to prison to get sober, or having to go to prison multiple times to get sober. It's sorry. Oh, hubotographer, I'm sorry you're still going through that. Man, that is awful. I just click on it and the chat comes back. Sorry. Full of Hope says ripples are so cool. And they are. Good Lord. I'm sorry, people. Wow. At one point, Noise Opera had 35 raccoons.
If you can think of something I can do, would you let me know?
That is absolutely incredible. I can't imagine having 35 cats, much less 35 raccoons. They're really cool animals. They're fun to watch. And they're like cats with much better hands. So the question becomes, what do you do with your life? It doesn't matter what you do in terms of making a living. But what directions do you send ripples out in? I knew I was going to end up doing this. Sorry. Get choked up. What ripples are you sending out? Because you got to realize that there are people out there doing the exact opposite. You understand? You can send out ripples in the opposite direction. You see, for the first 46 years that I was on this planet, right, the vast majority of those years, certainly from about 18 on, the ripples that I was sending out were hurting people. I weren't doing anything to help anybody. It was like my drug problem was affecting other people and causing them to have a drug problem. It's like what I had was contagious. And the number of people that ended up infected because of me is absolutely incredible. I'm happy as hell. And I'm proud of the fact that these days the ripples are going in the opposite direction. Seriously. What are you doing every day? Because you're creating ripples every day that you're awake. I hope that you're aware of this. Every single time you leave your house, every single time you send a text, any single time you leave a comment, or you do anything, there is an effect by what you do. And you need to ask yourself exactly what you're doing. Are you making the world a better place? Hey, Mark, good to see you. Are you making the world a better place with the things that you do, with how you treat people? Sometimes the smallest act of kindness can change somebody's life. And you never know when that moment is going to be. If you're new to the boat, and you may not have heard this, if you've been on the boat for any length of time, you've heard this 5 times. But there's no better story in the world to illustrate what I'm talking about. I sat down at a table in prison. It was during a Christian feast. And it's the only time that two different races can sit at the same table, right? Any other time that would never be allowed. The guards wouldn't even allow it. So I was eating with my friend. His name is Turtle. And a black gentleman walked up and said, "Hey, do you mind if I sit down here for a second?" We said, no, grab a seat. So he sat down and he said, "I want to thank you." He's talking to me. He said, "Because when you and I were talking in the kitchen," because he used to be the secretary in there. He said, "When you and I were talking in the kitchen, that conversation changed my life." And I really mean that. Like from that day on, my life has never been the same. And I said, "Wow, it's such a cool thing to say." He said, "Yeah, really, for the rest of my life, I'm going to look back and think that was the moment. That was the moment when everything changed." I said, "Awesome." Gave him a big handshake. And as he walked away, Turtle said to me, "What did you say to that guy?" I said, "I don't know who he is. I have no idea who that guy is. I don't remember seeing him." So obviously the conversation I had with him didn't mean a whole lot to me. I used to talk to people every day because as the secretary, if somebody came in as a new hire, I had to give them their little kit. No. Hold on. Sorry, people. I don't know what's going on with the computer. Can I get a 5x5? Am I still here? Hopefully, I am still here. That was a really weird thing. I've never seen the screen do that one before. What do you say, crew? Am I still around? I'm not seeing it. 5x5. Ah, there we go. There we go. Look at all of you. Look at all yous. Thank you so much. Appreciate you guys. So I had no idea who this guy was. No idea. I don't have any idea what I said to him. But whatever I said that day changed a dude's life. What if I had a really crappy day that day? What if I decided that that day was just going to be the day that I treated everybody like crap? You know, something happened, bad news from home, whatever. But the 5% that it affected me that day, I chose the 95% to be a jerk to everybody. Well, whatever the hell I said to that guy that literally changed his life wouldn't have happened. Right? Just wouldn't have happened. So this is another email that I get from multiple people said, what is the 5 and the 95? I got to remember that a lot of people now don't have any idea what I'm talking about. Page 2 Tommy versus page 3 Tommy. I think that one's probably been explained a lot. So the brother may be why you are here today, encouraging us all. You never know. Well, I can tell you what, I'm here because of one brother, for sure. Q is definitely the reason that I am here today. Make no mistake. He is the reason I am here. So the 5 and the 95, this is what generates ripples in either direction. I don't care what happens to you in life. I don't care if it's good. I don't care if it's bad. I don't care if it's tragic, right? On a scale of 1 to 10, right? We talk about this a lot on the boat. A 1 is you forgot your wallet. You drive all the way up to 7-Eleven to go get something and you didn't bring your damn wallet. Right? On a scale of how this is going to affect your life, that's a 1. On a scale of 1 to 10. A 10 would be somebody that passes away, or somebody that gets a diagnosis of a disease that can kill them, or something that is just traumatic and life affecting. Those are a 10. Point is, doesn't matter whether it's a 1 or a 10, it's still the 5% of the equation. The 95% is going to be how you react to those things. And there have been times in my life where it doesn't matter what the issue is, I was going to react to it in the wrong way. Doesn't matter, right? You get bad service. Whatever you could be at a restaurant, you could be anywhere, but you get bad service. That's 5%, right? What are you going to do with the 95? You're going to chew the head off of somebody, right? You're going to send out really negative, hateful stuff in the opposite direction. Or are you going to figure out a way to be classy through the whole situation? And maybe change someone with how you're doing it. No matter how stressful of a workday I have, even when it makes me want a beer, I stop and I think about how many days I haven't had one. And that's more important than giving into. You know what? That is an absolutely perfect example of the 5%. One of those days that's stressful as hell, right? How does he deal with it? Well, how he deals with it is the 95%. And if you do the right thing, you are absolutely sending ripples out. You may not think you are. You may think that, it's not going anywhere. It's just me, whether or not I get hired. That's going to affect the lives of everybody you know. Massively affect the lives of everybody you know. Seventh Son says, Tommy's original plan was to save 6 people. This is true. This is true. Originally, so I had a guy I was living with in a cell, and he was not the brightest bulb. And I'm not being mean. I'm really not. But a lot of times you will run into people who are incarcerated, and you look at them and you think the reason that this person is incarcerated is because they just never really had a chance. You know what I mean? Like, they have a very, very low IQ. Nicest guy, but just not very bright. And he made very terrible decisions. And having a conversation with him was difficult. But I was in there and I'm writing in a journal pretty much all day. And we're in a lockdown. We're in the hole, the SHU, the Special Management Unit. So I'm writing, and he said, "What are you writing?" And I said, "I'm putting together things about how to stay sober, right? Things about rehabilitation." I said, "When I get out, that's what I'm going to plan on doing." He said, "Well, how are you going to do it?" I didn't realize that this is how I was going to do it. So I said, well, in the past, I've gone around the country and, I've spoken in convention centers and hotels and things like that. And I said, and that's probably the way I will go. I will try to figure out a way to run ads, bring people in, or go to schools, right? Talk to parents, this kind of thing. And I start explaining all of this to him. And when I get to the very end of me explaining it, he goes, nope, it's not going to work. It's not going to work. And I said, wow. I'm like, no, I mean, I think I've thought this out pretty well. He's like, too much pressure. It's way too much pressure. It's going to kill you. You're not going to be able to handle it. That kind of pressure, you're going to try to save everybody in the world. And I said, well, obviously I won't succeed in saving everybody, but I may as well try. And he said, no. You know what you need to do? I said, what? He's like, you got to go for a low number. Try to save 6 people. I said, 6. He said, yeah, try to save 6 people. And I said, okay. I guess that would be less pressure, wouldn't it? He said, yeah. I said, but I'm planning on doing this for a really long time. I said, what happens if I save 6 people? Then what? He said, save 6 more. And it was one of those things that like absolutely stuck with me in a way that very few things will. Because if a genius had said this to me, right, it wouldn't have had any more effect, but it really did start getting to this thing where I thought, you know what? It doesn't matter how many people I save. It doesn't. One will change the world. If the actions are of what we do or the channel that we build or any of those things, if we could, save one person, that's a good thing. If we could save 6, that's fantastic. I am pretty confident that the boat has saved more than 6 people. And those 6 people are going to affect the lives of so many individuals that you realize that literally because of this channel, the world is never going to be the same. And I'm not talking about me, people. I'm really not. I'm never talking about me. It's sad. If somebody pops in at the wrong moment and they stick around on the lifeboat for about 3 minutes, they're going to go, that is the most arrogant dude I have ever met in my whole life. All that dude does is talk about himself. I'm not talking about myself. I truly am not. Jason P., good to see you. Yeah, okay. Nice. 2.3 million views. That's good stuff right there. Well played. Well played. That, that really, really is a big one. So hold on. The McClellan motto is think on. I like it. The Scoville motto is if it's worth doing, it's worth overdoing. And it didn't serve us very well when we were drinking and doing drugs, right? That was a pretty bad time to go into life with that kind of a mentality. Or if you were breaking laws, once again, not a great thing, right? To have if it's worth doing, it's worth overdoing. But once you start doing good stuff, once you start trying to help people or anything else, then that works out to be a pretty good motto going forward. It really does. Let's see. So we've got Blue Girl 77 who just got here right now. My goodness. So we'll just start over again. Don't worry about it. All right, everyone. I'm Captain Tommy Scoville, and you are on the lifeboat. Appreciate you coming here today. So I'm kidding. We can't start over, but you should double back. This is what we're doing is we're going over some of the most important, we don't want inside jokes that no one knows. I don't want new people to hear things and go, what the hell is he talking about? And I did get a few emails from people who said there are things that you say that I don't understand. Some of that is probably because I've been with you guys so long that we have a decent amount of sort of slang back and forth. We've all gotten used to. Hey, Kat, what's happening, crazy? Good to see you. Really good to see you. So I do want to apologize too and tell you that this was not Heather's fault earlier on when we basically had two We had two shows going up at the same time. That was my fault. That breakdown in communication, that one was on me. For real. So I apologize, but we're getting back. Rose K says, go back and watch at 1.5 speed to catch up if you want. You know what's really funny, Rose, is I do that. I do that all the time. But, if I get somewhere late, I'll watch it at double time. But it depends on who you're listening to, right? There are some people that talk really fast. And if you try to listen to them if you try listening to it at double speed, it just, sometimes when I'm really on a roll, if you double up the speed of which I'm talking, it's really going to be absolutely awful. Charles McClellan, the Solitaire? Snot face. We could call it the Life Catamaran. Yeah, right. If the two of them had gone off at the same time, we probably could have done that. Zen1 says, I was 11 minutes late. Zona had to go out first. Your dog's name is Zona? I didn't know that. Why didn't I know that? Honestly, that's pretty incredible that I didn't know the name of your dog. It's pretty weird. Really weird. I'm a little creeped out. So, you know what else I did today, people? I started going through lists of people that we haven't seen in a while. And, sometimes that's scary, but I've been reaching out to a lot of the people and just seeing how they are. And I got about 5 people that already contacted me who said, I'm doing great. I'm sober. I'm working. Everything is good. And, I love everybody. Tell them, that I love them. I said, look, stop back in once every couple of months. Honestly, if somebody just drew through my neighborhood at like 100 miles an hour. If I love the idea that somebody gets to a point where they feel like they don't, need meetings anymore. They're able to move on. That does not bum me out. Honest to God, it doesn't. It's just nice when they pop in, and tell us how they're doing, because you do worry about people. I love this boat too. I really do. I absolutely do. Miss V, her ancestor is Abraham Lincoln. Never heard of him. Long story. Her name was Zola. I didn't care for that name, but I didn't want to change it to where she was confused. Gotcha. So from Zola, you went to Zona. Makes perfect sense, especially because of where you live. That's actually logical as hell. V, are you laughing at me? What? I told you. I blew off school pretty hard. If this is a guy I was supposed to learn about in school, I missed it. Leisure. Glad that you're here, bud. I really am. And I'm glad that you got another visitor out there. I think that's fantastic. I love that. I love that people from the boat get together, especially when they're coming from other states and doing all of that. I think that is absolutely fantastic. Really. M. Hunt, take care of yourself, please. And I'm going to send you an email. There's somebody I know from the boat who is in your state. And I don't know. I'll send you an email. I'm curious about some Georgia stuff. And the best way to figure that out is just going to be to reach out to you. So I won't do it here. When people disappear you care about, it's disturbing. Well, especially when they disappear from here. You know what I mean? You know what, Leisure? When she came out here, we had a great visit. Heather's a lot of fun. She really is. I went grocery shopping with James Novak today. Very cool. Very cool. We absolutely have, we've kind of perfected this whole connection thing. So if you're brand new to the boat, we are of the firm belief that the opposite of addiction is connection. When an individual starts to get high or spend too much time getting, when they fall into addiction, they start to back up. They start to pull away from everything. And it's pretty logical stuff. They don't want the people that they know well to see them often because it becomes super obvious. The people who know you well, they look at you and they go, boy, something's wrong. What's wrong with Tommy? He just doesn't look right. Sorry, I was reading a comment. I had a kitten with a big attitude that I named Miss Thang. When it turned out to be a boy, I renamed him Sting because it sounded similar. Yeah. I think we've all had an animal and then we found out that we named it wrong. I had one called Madeline, and Madeline turned into a Mac. Up until this cat, I have always just given my cats the names of humans. You know what I mean? Like a human name. I never gave him, the boots or, anything like that. Squirrel was named by the boat. Oh, this is probably another good piece of trivia that new people won't know. So last year, about 5 or 6 months into the boat, I said I'm going to get a cabin cat. I wanted to get a cat, and I said you guys can watch the kitten grow up. It'll just be a part of the show. I think that's really cool, and I happen to love animals. So I said I'm going to go out and get the cat in the next couple of days, and I'm trying to come up with a name. Rob, I'm glad you're here, bud. Good to see you. I said, I'm trying to come up with a name for the cat. So we had a bunch of people that were talking about who asked me to join the Facebook group. Can you please message me on Facebook? Everybody see that? Let me put that up there so people don't miss it. So everybody started to put their suggestions in. Well, at the time, one of the long-standing jokes was I might call the show, relapse prevention, and then I would just squirrel off into a different direction, and I'd end up talking to the crew for an hour and getting absolutely nothing done. So people would put up there in little comments, squirrel, 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 because my attention span tends to jump from one thing to another. So everybody kind of voted and said that when I get a cat, the name of the cat had to be Squirrel. So Mama Scoville and I went for a ride over to the Humane Society here in town to go adopt a kitty. And when we got there, they said, you can't look at any of them because they're all having surgery tonight, spayed and neutered, right? But you can come back in the morning and there are cats that will be ready for adoption. So got there super early in the morning and I went in and there were two of the cutest cats you've ever seen in your life, like the kind you see on postcards. And they looked almost identical. But Squirrel saw me and I went over and put 2 fingers in the cage. She was really tiny and she just dropped onto him on her back, like right onto my hand, and then just started freaking out. And meowing nonstop. When I went to leave the room, she almost got panicky. And I walked up to the desk and I said, hey, I want to adopt the tortoise shell cat, the one in the middle cage. And the woman says, that's not how it works. I said, so how does it work? And they said, you go get the name off the back of the cage, and then you bring the little card to us. So I go on the back of the cage and I pull the card out, and it says Squirrel. I swear to you, the cat's name was Squirrel. And I just looked down at the card and thought, if there has ever, been something that just was meant to be and is not coincidence, that's it. Only about 5 milligrams of Suboxone in the last 10 days. Wow. Yeah, that is really not a lot. Fantastic. I had a friend with a dog named Underfoot. Yep, it makes perfect sense. Yep, that actually makes perfect sense. But that was one of those things that, it was convenient because I didn't have to rename the cat. The cat, and I'm not exactly sure why they named her Squirrel, but they were really happy when she left. I don't know what it was about Squirrel, but they were must have been the fact that she never stops meowing, like nonstop. It's one of those things that you really kind of got to get used to because it can drive you crazy. Yeah, you are. Yeah, ZW, it was absolutely meant to be. My cat looked like a bowling pin, so we called him Brunswick. Nice. Excellent. One of my cats is named Get Off That. That's awesome. That is absolutely awesome. One of my cats is named Get Off That. That has got to be one of the funniest names for a cat I have ever heard. That really is great. Yeah, Ladybug, he's tapering down, which I think is, that's awesome. After 5 years of trying, I'm trying again. And, here's the thing. I'm not a doctor. I have, however, tapered off of Suboxone on more than one occasion. And I've never had a problem doing it. And I know people get really angry when they hear that, but the way that you taper off of Suboxone, in my humble opinion, is you do it really, really slowly. I mean, don't be in any hurry to get it done. You need to start off with, let's say you had an 8 milligram strip, go to 7 and then stay at 7 for a week, right? Maybe 10 days. And then you go down to 6 and stay there for a week to 10 days. And then go down to 5 and do a week to 10 days. And you go off that way. And when you get down to those, super small, we get down to 1 milligram, you cut it in half. And you do a 0.5 milligram for 10 days, right? And by the time you get to the last one, there isn't going to be any sick. My next cat will be... you guys make me laugh. Yeah, Cindy Pardee. You know what? Anytime somebody decides that that they can live without a substance, even if that substance is for medical assisted treatment, I have always said, and I've always been of the firm belief that you're much better off with nothing if you can do that. If you can stay clean and not have any problems, and you can do it with absolutely no substance, that's the best possible case scenario. It is. But if you can't, well, then now you start looking at, the different plans. I think I just was on it way too long. You can get to a point where you really screw up your receptors. And when that happens, they never seem to work very well. 17 days sober, says Brandon. Well done, brother. Well done. Hobotographer, I got that one. That's why I was laughing. And I believe, what do they call that? Phonetics. I can't remember what they call that. I think it's phonetic spelling. I miss my 2 dachshunds so bad. Really, they really helped me. You know what? I had a half dachshund and half chihuahua, a chiweenier. And that was the smartest animal. I could train that dog to do something in about 15 minutes. I mean, I don't care what it was. I could train that dog to do almost anything like that. Really, it's just so funny. She was an excellent animal. When I divorced my last wife, the dog obviously, the dog went with her in the divorce, which was a shame because I really liked her. Her name was Lily. Of course, I called her Lilith. And I don't, how I've said all the time that people, they're listening to your phone, right? Even when you're not on it, they're always listening. And the proof of that was I was talking about, I used to refer to her as Lilith, right? And the standing joke was that she was just a member of the household, right? And her last name was Shaween, like Chewiener dog. And we actually started getting things in the mail, right? We had 2 or 3 different advertisements sent to the house for Lilith Shaween. And I mean, I said there, yeah, tell me they're not listening to us. If it works, I'll see if we can get with the gift card too, because I need one. I don't know what that is. A massage gun? I don't know. That sounds fun. They're cool little dogs. My cat Joey ran away last year. I'm so sorry. I really am. That's awful. If it works, I'll see if we can get it. Cheweenies are the best. I have 2. Oh, Jason, I'm so jealous. Are your dogs very, very intelligent? because I haven't had a lot of interaction with. I've not had a lot of interaction with other Chiweenies other than Lilith, but she was just a super smart dog. I mean, really, really smart. Full of hope. Those uniforms are smart looking. Okay, which uniforms are we talking about? Sorry. Dachshund, did I not say that right? Full of hope, did I say that wrong? I'm not a small dog fan. I want another lab rot mix. Moose was a great dog. Stupid, but fun. At the same time, I had a dog that was a golden retriever named Cosmo, and Cosmo was about 135 pounds. And you want to talk about a dog that was dumb? I mean, he was the nicest animal in the whole world, but he was dumb as a brick. For real. I mean, and I loved him. He was a lot of fun, but just not very bright. You say Dachshund? I don't know. Over here we say Dachshund. My dog is going to be named Doji. And when I get Doggy, there you go, Doggy. And when I get my wolf, I'm going to name him Defend. Because if I call him Kill now, I might sound like good in court. Very, very well, right? Very well done. I remember there was a professor that we had in college, and he lived just off campus. So he was close enough to the campus that you always could see him leaving his house, walking up the hill. He almost looked like the students. But he had a doghouse outside, that was very visible from the street. And over the top of it was written PHYDEAUX, right? PHYDEAUX. And I was like, Fido? That's a very funny way to spell Fido. My Malamute Wolf hybrid is named Loki, and his son is named Merlin. Aha. Couple of decent references from literary and mythology, right? I think Loki is Thor's brother, yeah? And Merlin is pretty famous. Brandy Bradley, good to see you again. My pup, Seeger, is a Newfoundland poodle mix. A Poofenland. Oh, that's great. A Poofenland. I've never heard that. That is so fantastic. And you know what's really funny? Someone was just saying this the other day. It might have been Mama Scoville. When years ago, right, we called them mutts. If you had a half Chihuahua and half wiener dog, right, it was a mutt. They didn't. Now they're just new breeds. Now they're getting very creative with new breeds. And I think that's awesome because when you crossbreed, they tend to live a lot longer, right? I am the noise opera, says the boat was meant to be. I agree with you. And you've been a very big part of it for a very long time, my brother. I'm so glad that you're here. I really am. I'm telling you, Nick, at some point we gotta have to bring you on here and do a bit of an interview. I would never put you on the spot. I would never read, anything from the past you wouldn't want read. But I'm telling you, people, you have no idea the turnaround that man did. He just completely redesigned who he was. For real. He just went from being a guy that was pretty negative, had some really, tough stances on a lot of things, and he just became one of the most loving and cool guys I've ever met. Just a great dude. Really, really a great dude. I'm glad you're here, man. I got paid $600 to deliver a puppy Bernedoodle to New Jersey. Okay. Bernedoodle. I don't know what that one is either. A Heinz 57. My shirt was like a belt. Da-da-da. I can't even get a 1% wolf in Cali without a vet freaking out. Why? That seems stupid. Chili Phil, thank you, my friend. I appreciate that. I really do. Very kind. You have photos of baby seahorses. You might be the only person on the planet that has photos of baby seahorses. Were there cool little people riding their backs? Because that's what they always looked like in the comic books. They always had these great faces, and you could see them, and they were like riding the seahorses, and usually the seahorse had a saddle and a bridle. They were really cool in the photos. Sadly, they never looked that way when you got them. Did you say wild combinations of chickens? I'm not trying to be ignorant or anything else, but isn't there sort of, are there that many wild, different breeds of chicken? Am I super ignorant on this? I probably am because I don't know anything about them, but. Oh, I gotcha. First day. Yes, Tommy, I have videos of baby seahorses. Nice. That is something. That really is. My pit bull was chipped as a lab Sharpei. All right. Mine are labeled Husky Mix. Full of Hope says, I love Silkies. If that's a breed, there are so many different breeds. There really are. There are a ton of different breeds. Once in the shoe, the book cart comes by, and if you've read everything, then you just grab whatever you can get, right? Because there's no TV, there's no radio. The only thing you can do is read. And they had a book in there on. It was just breeds of dogs, and 93 pure chicken breeds. Wow. 5 Silkies. Yep. I had absolutely no idea that there were that many kinds of chicken. I'm blown away. I love a French blue chook, blue legs. Good Lord, you all are really into chickens. I'm absolutely shocked by how much the crew of the Lifeboat knows about chickens. I dog watch part-time. Love all the little buggers. They may not trust me completely at first. Eventually, we become friends, and mutual trust evolves. Chili Phil says, I love them deep fried. You know what? My Papa Scoville used to say that. People would say, what, you don't like kids? And he'd say, yeah, I like them barbecued. And that usually got people to give him a crazy look. All I know about chickens is that they taste good. Ultra Maggot knows everything he needs to know. Right? A Silky is a chicken breed. Yeah, apparently. I had no idea. Aquaman had one he rode. Seahorse. To be sure he did. Yep, he absolutely did. The mix we had would jump up on the 8-foot. Wow. On the 8-foot fence to mate with the next door neighbors. Oh, wow. I bet you were popular as hell with the next door neighbor. I love jerk chicken too. I'll be honest. I really like chicken. There's not too many ways I don't like chicken. Although I learned while inside that there are roasters, right? And there are cluckers. And the prison system buys birds that can no longer lay eggs, right? So you're not getting birds that were intended, to be roasted. We used to get and you knew something was wrong because the legs were like this big, right? They were absolutely huge. And I thought, how is that possible? And it was because, they were juicing them up all the time, giving them, steroids or everything else. Bacon is my favorite animal. Oh, that's great. Bacon is my favorite animal. If that is not a bumper sticker or a t-shirt waiting to happen, that is absolutely great. Man, that is funny. When you coat a breast with egg yolk, you're bathing the mom. Yeah. Lone Star State. You know what? You know it's just different than any other state in the union. You drive across the state line, and the first thing you see is a huge billboard that says, "Don't mess with Texas." Right? You know, every other place you go to, it'll say, "Welcome to the Lone Star State," or "Welcome to the Green Mountain State." You get to Texas, don't mess with Texas. I am on Etsy now, designing it. That's the spirit. You should have a couple of strips of bacon. You might even want to like make the strips look like, you got them bent over, kind of looking like a dachshund, like a poodle. That would be good. Get creative with that. I heard they were jumpers like that, and I have 1,000 foot of fence line on my property. It would cost me 30 G's in Cali to run 2 levels of fence for a wolf. Yeah, right? I love my Oscar Mayer. Very good. Very good. There's the I knew what you meant. See that? I said it even before your other one got up there. I love these days. All right, peeps. You know what? That's going to bring us to just about the top of the hour. And I so badly need the Navage. I can't wait until I'm no longer in a state that has sagebrush in it. Because it is making life absolutely miserable. It really is. So, you know what this means, don't you? Come on. What does this mean? People, I said it's almost that time, and you know what that means. It's time for 42,000 square feet. Wow. Wow, that's huge, man. That is absolutely huge. And Mark's got it. Squirrel. ZW's got it. She's calling for the squirrel. Nick says the cat in the basket. So does Jason P. And it is time for a cat in the basket. I am Captain Tommy Scoville. And we will be back on 11 hours from now, first thing tomorrow morning, right? So I'm Captain Tommy, and this right here, that is a cat in a basket. And she really is alive. See that? He's a good kitty. What a good girl. Say hi. No. Want no part of it. All right, peeps. I love this boat.